He gave up his empire and vanished. But she didn't give up on him. This is where silence ends and love begins again. Welcome back to the Velvet Story, where hearts wage wars and love always has the final word. In today's chapter of Beneath Velvet Fire, Kyan walks away from the Alarak name to protect the woman he loves. And Eliora, she'll cross oceans, defy families, and rewrite her legacy just to find him. Settle in, let the storm pass, and the story unfold. Chapter 11, In the Silence. I chose you. The press conference was brief, but it echoed across industries like a silent bomb detonated in a glass castle. Kyan Alarak, brilliant, ruthless, heir to Alarak Tech, had resigned. There were no parting statements, no carefully curated words of diplomacy. Only one line left on the podium microphone, slightly off-center. You cannot build a future on a foundation of silence, unless you mean to listen. Then, he disappeared. His phone went dark. His social profiles scrubbed. No one saw him at corporate events or gala dinners, and the sleek black town car that usually trailed him like a shadow was nowhere in sight. For Eliora Velian, it was as if he had been plucked from the page like a misplaced comma, his absence too jarring to be mere punctuation. But what haunted her most was the look in his eyes at their last encounter. It wasn't anger. It wasn't a regret. It was peace. Like he had made a choice he could finally live with, even if it destroyed him. 1 month later, the seaside town of Wharton was not the kind of place heirs to tech dynasties retired to. It smelled like salt and bread and old wood, and every store sign had a hand-painted charm, as if no one there believed in mass production. Eliora wore sunglasses and a wide-brimmed hat, disguises more for herself than for any paparazzi. She hadn't told anyone where she was going. Not her assistant, not her father, not even the security team assigned by Velian Enterprises. Just one breadcrumb left in the shape of an old memory Kyan had once whispered in a moment she wasn't supposed to remember. When I was a kid, I used to go to Wharton with my mom. Before the world got loud. It was the only place that didn't ask anything of me. And so, here she was. The place with no demands. But her heart was making plenty. She found him on the third day, barefoot, standing behind the counter of a rustic bookstore called Dog-Eared Ends. He was wearing a faded navy sweater, sleeves rolled up, hair messily tousled as if it hadn't seen a comb in days. A mug of coffee steamed near his fingers, and he was arranging second-hand novels like they were artifacts. She didn't speak. Neither did he. He looked up and froze. No mask. No press. Just them. Her heart tumbled into the silence between their breaths. You found me, he finally whispered, as if the sound of her had been chasing his dreams. Her lips barely parted. You left. I had to. And I didn't. That's why I hoped you would. It was the cruelest kind of reunion, the one painted with relief and ache, with the knowledge that love sometimes waits in the quiet, and sometimes it bleeds. He stepped out from behind the counter. The moment stretched like a held breath. I didn't want to cost you your name, he said, voice low. You didn't, she answered. You gave it back to me. He looked at her, really looked, and something cracked behind his eyes. Like the silence inside him had finally echoed back with an answer. Are you angry? He asked. I was. And now? Now I'm just tired of being brave alone. She didn't move first. Neither did he. But somehow they found each other halfway. One step, then another. And then her hand was on his chest, his arms around her back, their foreheads pressed like two puzzle pieces finally allowed to fit. They sat on the beach that evening. The sun dipped low, throwing orange and honey across the tide. Kyan skipped stones. Eliora dug her fingers into the sand, letting the earth remember her touch. You know, he said, voice softer than sea foam, the day I met you, I thought you hated me. I did, she replied. You were cocky, smug, and too smooth for your own good. He laughed. And then I hated you more. His chuckle deepened. Charming. But I also noticed you never once looked at me like a prize. You challenged me, not because of who I was, but because of what you saw. He glanced sideways. I saw fire. You saw someone trying not to burn down, she whispered. Kyan's hand brushed hers, careful, testing, like a man reaching for something he had no right to want. I didn't fall for you because you were strong, Elira, he murmured. I fell because you let yourself be seen even when it hurt. She turned, eyes shimmering. And I fell, slowly, stubbornly, because you were the first one who didn't expect me to be perfect. You think we're too broken? No, she said. I think we're beautifully bent. He leaned in, tentative. Their lips were a whisper apart. Tell me this is real. It's real, she breathed. And this time, we don't disappear. Their kiss was not thunder. It was rain meeting dry earth. A slow miracle, a promise. And in the stillness, where the world stopped spinning, Elira knew. In the silence, he had chosen her. And now, in the echo of that silence, she chose him right back. Later that week, they walked through the town, fingers laced like old habits. The locals smiled but didn't stare. Kyan introduced her to the bookstore cat, Marlo, and taught her how to make cinnamon toast without burning it. They stayed up late reading in opposite corners of the couch, sometimes arguing over favorite authors, sometimes saying nothing at all. He showed her the stars over the cliffside, the same stars that had once watched over him when his mother whispered bedtime stories on stormy nights. And she, Elira Velian, armor-clad heiress, learned how to be soft again. Not weak, just safe. She didn't miss the boardrooms. Not yet, maybe not ever, because here, Kyan didn't ask her to be a queen. He just asked her to be Elira. And she asked him to be hers. One final moment. They danced once on the beach. No music, just wind and waves and the memory of a masquerade. You are still my rival, she teased. Always, he grinned. Only now we're on the same side. Are we? He kissed her knuckles. I'm on your side. And she, for once, allowed herself to believe that love could be quiet. That devotion didn't need fireworks to be fierce. Sometimes, it just needed silence. And two hearts brave enough to listen. Chapter 12, Writing the Truth. Snow drifted lightly over the cobblestones of Aviel Square, dusting the old iron railings and narrow rooftops with a soft white hush. The same hush echoed in the room Elira sat in, old oak desk, dim yellow lamp, and Kyan seated across from her with sleeves rolled up and heart in his eyes. She had never written anything this personal. Elira Arclight, daughter of cold legacy and perfect polish, was now pulling words out of her chest like threads from a tapestry. Truths too long buried, feelings too fragile to name. Across the table, Kyan adjusted the glasses he didn't usually wear. We don't name names right away, he said, fingers hovering over the keyboard. Just facts, just the truth. We tell them how it all began, how a manipulated merger destroyed two families, two reputations, and almost. His voice faded as his eyes lifted to her. Almost us, Elira finished for him. It wasn't supposed to go like this. They were supposed to be enemies on the front page. Not two voices writing the truth the world had long forgotten, one not of rivalry but betrayal. Not of ambition but survival. Kyan tapped a key. The screen glowed with the first line. This is not an accusation. This is a resurrection. It started with old ledgers. Elira had spent hours combing through her father's dusty archives, half hoping it would exonerate her mother. Kyan had tracked down his father's former legal aid, whose silence finally cracked under the weight of guilt and 2 decades of lies. The real saboteur? Not Elira's mother. It was a shadow firm, one quietly funding both companies at the time of the merger. Deliberately manipulating the deal to fall apart so it could consume the pieces. The players? Elira's uncle, Kyan's cousin, both long hidden behind powerful names, quietly laundering trust for greed. And now, Elira and Kyan had a story. Documents, names, motives, proof. But they also had something more dangerous, courage. Elira, Kyan said softly, later that night, as they stood on the rooftop where this war first felt personal. Are you ready for them to hate us before they believe us? I'm ready for them to know the truth, she replied. And if it hurts them? He asked, not about the world, but about their families. Elira turned, snowflakes caught in her lashes. Then maybe they'll start healing. She had never been so steady, so clear. The girl who once wore armor in words now stood bare in belief, bold in her love for justice, and maybe something more. They didn't sell the story to a paper. That would have made it a scandal. Instead, they published it themselves, on an anonymous blog titled Velvet Fire Journal. Within hours, it exploded. Industry analysts recognized the patterns. Journalists dug up old contracts that aligned perfectly. Former employees, long silenced, spoke up. Even Elira's childhood nanny wrote a letter of support, confirming whispered conversations she'd heard. For the first time in years, the tide turned. Elira Arclight was no longer the ruthless heiress who iced a merger. Kyan Sterling was no longer the silver-tongued rival playing tech prince. They were human, brave, and oddly, painfully, romantic in the public eye. The way they'd risked everything to defend each other was a story of its own. But their families? Silence, at first. Then a storm. Elira's father called, voice shaking with disbelief and betrayal. You've turned this into a war zone. No, she replied calmly. We just uncovered the truth. You are destroying us, your legacy. I'm building something better, she whispered. I won't inherit silence and rot. Kyan's confrontation was worse. His father, once warm, now icy, had met him in a sterile boardroom. You gave up Alaric for her, he accused. For what? A fantasy? Public sympathy? Kyan didn't flinch. I gave it up because the truth mattered more than shares. You are a fool. No, Kyan replied. I'm free. Days later, something changed. Elira returned to the Arclight estate to find her mother standing in the hallway. For once, not distant, not cold. I read it, her mother said. Every word. Elira waited. I should have told you, her mother added. I thought protecting the lie would protect you. Elira's voice broke for the first time in weeks. It didn't. I know, her mother whispered, stepping forward. And for the first time in 15 years, Elira felt arms wrap around her. Trembling, real, forgiving. Kyan received a letter the same day. Handwritten. From his grandfather, the founder of Alaric Tech. You were never a disappointment, Kyan. You were just braver than us. Come visit sometime. I miss my boy. The world shifted. Slowly, but unmistakably. Investors backed off. Critics shut up. And more than one CEO sent anonymous congratulations. It wasn't about scandal now, it was about transparency. The Velvet Fire Journal became a symbol of truth, of redemption, and maybe, of love. 1 month later, Elira and Kyan stood beneath the restored glass dome of the Arclight Museum. Their foundation had launched Arclight Sterling Initiative for Ethical Business, and tonight was their opening gala. Same champagne, same flashing cameras, but a very different feeling. Elira wore black velvet, no diamonds, no crown, just elegance that whispered rather than screamed. Kyan wore no tie, just a soft smile and a hand always reaching for hers when the room buzzed too loud. He leaned in. Remember when I said I hated events? Elira sipped her champagne. You hated me more. I never hated you, he said. I just didn't know how to fall in love with someone that sharp. Her gaze held his. And now, I'm still learning, Kyan whispered. But I think you're my favorite lesson. She didn't smile, not right away, but her hand found his beneath the table, fingers twining. Not a fairy tale, not an enemy-turned-lover trope. Just two people who chose the truth. And in the silence of the gala, just before the orchestra played their names, Elira looked at Kyan and said quietly, I wouldn't change a single word we wrote. He kissed her knuckles. Neither would I. Sometimes, the greatest power is walking away. And the deepest love is found in the quiet. Elira and Kyan have chosen the truth. We chose each other. But what happens when the world finally hears their story? Don't miss the next chapter of Beneath Velvet Fire. Like what you heard? Like, comment, subscribe. This is the Velvet Story. where rivals burn and love rises from the ashes.